Have you ever been asked to leave a library for breathing too loud? I'd been battling a sinus infection for 2 weeks when I finally dragged myself to the university library to finish my thesis. The deadline was in 3 days, and my apartment neighbors had chosen this week to start their death metal band practice. The library was my last hope. I found a corner spot on the 3rd floor, the quiet zone where even typing too aggressively could get you glared at. My breathing was admittedly rough. The infection had turned me into a mouth breather with the subtle grace of a congested walrus, but I needed to power through. 20 minutes in, I felt a tap on my shoulder. The librarian stood there with the expression that could silence a tornado. "Excuse me," she whispered. "Your breathing is disturbing other people." I stared at her. "My breathing? Yes, it's quite loud. Perhaps you could try breathing more quietly." How does one breathe more quietly? I tried taking smaller breaths, which just made me breathe faster. Then I tried holding my breath between paragraphs, which made me gasp for air like I was drowning. Nothing worked. An hour later, the librarian was back. This time she brought reinforcement, a security guard who looked like he moonlighted as a bouncer. "Sir, we've had multiple complaints. One student said you sound like," she checked her notepad, and I quote,
"Fee, fi, fo, fum."
"Someone's heavy breathing is making me want to run." Someone complained in rhyme. "The creative writing students are very expressive." She pursed her lips. "I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave. For breathing, that's a basic human function. Not the way you do it," the security guard muttered. I looked around for support. The student at the next table was wearing noise-canceling headphones over earplugs. Another had built a fortress of textbooks around his workspace, presumably as a sound barrier. A girl across the way was filming me with her phone. Great. I was about to become a TikTok sensation. Day ruined by aggressive breather in library. Gone wrong. "Can I at least try a different floor?" I pleaded. "The thesis is due. We've received complaints from floors 2 and 4 as well," the librarian interrupted. "Apparently the sound travels through the vents." That's when another student chimed in from across the room. "Bro sounds like Darth Vader having an asthma attack." "That's enough," the librarian snapped, though I caught her suppressing a smile. I packed up my laptop, papers, and wounded pride. As I headed for the exit, someone started a slow clap. Others joined in. By the time I reached the stairs, half the floor was applauding my departure. Outside, I called my friend David. "You're not going to believe this. I just got kicked out of the library for breathing too loud." "Were you doing that thing where you breathe through your nose and it whistles?" "I have a sinus infection." And no, it wasn't whistling. Apparently I sound like the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. David laughed so hard he started wheezing. Now who's breathing too loud? I ended up finishing my thesis at a 24-hour diner where the coffee machine was louder than my congested breathing. The waitress didn't care if I sounded like a broken air conditioner as long as I kept ordering coffee. The next week, finally infection-free, I returned to the library. She was at her desk, eyeing me suspiciously. "Feeling better?" she asked. "Much. Listen, about last week," she held up a hand. "Water under the bridge. But just so you know, you're something of a legend now. The creative writing class wrote a collection of haikus about you." She handed me a printed page. The title read, "Ode to the Heavy Breather, a Respiratory Retrospective." I kept that paper. Framed it, actually. It hangs in my home office now. A reminder that I once breathed so loudly I inspired poetry and got banished from a building dedicated to silence. My thesis advisor asked why my final draft acknowledgments included special thanks to the staff at Denny's for their patience. I told him the truth. He said it was the most original excuse for a late submission he'd ever heard. These days, I carry decongestant everywhere, and if I feel even slightly congested, I avoid libraries like the plague. Some reputations you just can't shake. Though I did hear from David that there's now a sign in the library's quiet zone that reads, "Excessive breathing may result in removal." He swears it's because of me. I choose to take it as a compliment. Not everyone can say they changed library policy just by existing.